So the purpose of this demonstration is going to be to review how you can set up Odoo's version 12 for a make to order type of workflow. And what I mean by that is where if a business sells one-off products every time or most of the time, then it would make sense to implement such a workflow. Again, this is one example of how Odoo can be set up to accommodate such a workflow, but just based on my tad bit of experience, I can show you one simple way, and more importantly, how to do a small customization in Odoo to accommodate this way, which I'll explain, and you may be able to just apply to other ways to help automate some stuff. So conceptually, what I'm going to do is I'm first and foremost going to understand in this workflow what at what point does my employee start to engage with the customer and document information or initiate the creation of a custom product or a custom bill of material, which I'm going to either make or order. That's the first thing you're going to want to define when thinking about, what I'm going to call make to order workflow, but or just a custom product selling workflow. So I'm going to do it based on the CRM. And I'm going to say at the CRM, when my employee creates the lead, I want to allow them to create a what's called a PLM or an engineering change order to introduce, and you'll see that here, a new product. And this pipeline is what my engineers will use in order to create a new product, create a new bill of material, and make it available for my salesperson to sell. So let's check this out. Um, First thing you want to do when you're going to do any customization in Odoo is go into debug, and you can do that by going to settings, activate developer mode, and then I like to just open up a few windows up here of the exact same environment so that I can, don't have to bounce around between screens. Then what I want to do is I want to go to the model, to my models, and I know I'm going to try to create an ECO or an engineering change order, and I want to understand what the required fields are to do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a button which is going to rely on a server action, which will automatically create a new record whenever it's clicked, so that I can, have my sales folks very easily just create the ECO so that my engineering team can be notified that they need to look at building a new product. Okay, so now I know that these are the four required fields. Technical name, state, type ID. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my server action, and I'm going to create a new server action. And I'm just going to call it create ECO. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to say it's going to exist on the model that is the lead opportunity. And the action I'm going to do when this server action is initiated is I can do a bunch of things like create a new activity, add a follower, send an email, execute many actions. But I'm going to create a new record. And the record I'm going to create is actually going to be an engineering change order. And down here, I'm going to say, what data do I want to write, or what fields do I want to populate on this engineering change order when it's created from the leader opportunity being, this action being validated, which will happen via a button, as I'll show you soon. So what you need to know in order to do this is, and if I want to create this record, in order to create one of these engineering change orders, which you'll see here, ECO, if I want to create it, I have mandatory fields here. Actually, I have three of them. There's actually four. One of them is a hidden field, which it's called status, which I'll show you in just a second. But so I need to have values in these fields in order for this record to be created and saved. And that's the purpose of writing here. So let's look at our required fields. We have name. So I want to say for the name of the engineering change order, and this I would do is it the display name? Let's make sure. Nope, it's not display name, so it might be title. Nope, it would actually be, just X out of this, display name of So I can always just go into here and see its reference. Duh. That's what happens when you get rusty. But yeah, I would then say for the name of this, do I want to, and I'm going to do a Python expression because I actually want to take the name of the customer on the opportunity. I'm going to say, look at this record, which is the lead opportunity it's being created from, and take the partner ID, which is if I go to my opportunity, my pipeline, and you'll see the name of the customer is actually partner underscore ID. So I'm telling the system, give the title of this ECO the name of the customer. The next thing, the next mandatory field is the state. And you'll see, state is the activity state. Nope, but the activity state of the ECO. Let's make sure, because what I need is status is actually the name of that field. So not, here. We'll take status, there it is, and I can give it a value, and I know that this is just bomb, and the way that I got that was from the actual bill of material. Like sometimes fields will be hidden, and a lot of people will get caught up with this when building, trying to automate this stuff. Like this field status on the ECO is hidden. Check this out. So if I go to PLM right now, nowhere on here can I find a status field. And whenever you get stuck like that, what you want to do is you want to go to the model, look at the name, the technical name, its state, and just go and edit the form view of, not of the actual server action, but edit the form view of the ECO and just add the field state somewhere in here. Like, for example, I'll add it right at the bottom here of this group. And it's very simple to do that. Just type in name, state, and close it. And what that'll do is it'll actually give you the field on this view, because sometimes these fields are hidden and can be tricky. So you'll see here, status is actually, those are my options now that I hover over it. Either confirmed, progress, rebase, conflict, or done. So actually, I want to make this confirmed as a mark it to do. So whenever it's created, it's assigned the state to do. Let's go in here and we're going to change this to do. Let's just make sure I have that right. It's not, it's confirmed. Wow, I am very rusty today. So confirmed. Now that we have confirmed set, the next is type. And the type field, if I hover over it here, type ID, I can have values equal to, I'm going to just say either new product introduction or, yeah, I could just say new product introduction here. So the type here can be, and I'm going to use a reference, and I'm going to reference one of the options here. I'm just going to say reference new product intro. And then I'm also, the next one is I have the apply on. Let's go to apply on. And for this, I have, let's just leave it reference. It's going to be value. And I can see here the apply on. Let's hover over. I have two options. I can either choose product or bomb. And I'm going to choose bomb. And you just have a value, and I want the value to be the bomb option. So what that means is, do I want to, when I create this engineering change order, do I want to do it on a product only or a product and a bomb, which will give me the option to select both. So I selected bomb. Now I have these set. Let's go ahead and save it. So the next point in the workflow is actually to go ahead and create our button on the lead or on the record we want to allow this ECO to be created automatically from. And to do that, I want to look at the action ID up here. This ID is the ID of the action. So when I go to my opportunity, and when I go to, let me open this up. I'm just going to create one called test. When I open up the view, and I want to find a place to add my button, and I can see I want to put it in the header somewhere. So I'll probably want to do it here. I would do button name is equal to, and then here I put the actual server action ID, which is 509. So I say I want to call action 509, and the type is it's an action, and the string is equal to whatever I want to name this button. I could say create engineering order, and I can actually just close it out there and save it. And when I do that, I've added the button, which will reflect server action 509. The type is an action, and the string is an engineering change order. So if you add that bit of code into whatever Odoo environment on any record, that's how you create a button. Very, very simple. And I've already defined the action that I want that button to activate. So with that, I will see there I have a little button called create engineering order, and I can see the action ID is equal to 509. And I can see the object is on the crm.lead. So what I want to do next is I can test this button now. I can click it. So let's actually go in and say I assign this to Billy Bob as the customer. Get it up here. So now if I create an engineering change order, if all things were set up right, it should create create the engineering change order automatically. Now let's go check it out. Engineering change order. I have one. Open it. It's res.partner 7, and it was just created now. So I know that this is actually the right, I know that it was created now because I see it down here. So I know that action generated the right object. It gave me the status to do. It applies on the bill of material and the product, and it's a new product introduction. But what it didn't do is it didn't capture the title correctly. So if I go look at the reference, I'm pulling partner ID. I think what I want to do is pull the partner ID.name. So that's saying of the record, which is the CRM opportunity, take the partner ID field, and from that partner ID field, take that partner ID's name. Let's go and go to my pipeline again, and let's just open that opportunity up and create it once more. And I'm just going to go over here to this and see, now I should have two. I do. And now I see Billy Bob came over perfectly. Awesome. Now, let's take it a step further. On this record, I want to know which opportunity this particular record stems from. To do that, I would go to Studio, and I need to have a field on this particular engineering change order, which allows me to specify an opportunity. I would have, in this instance, a many to one, which would relate back to the lead opportunity, just like that. I'll leave that field there. So now I can have many engineering change orders related to one opportunity. So what I want to do next is if I go back to my server action, I can actually say to Odoo, I can say on that new field called a lead opportunity on the mrp.eco or on the engineering change order, I want you to do a Python expression where the value that you insert in this field is equivalent to the ID of the lead opportunity which we created it from. So that, once that's set, now what I want to do is I go back to the opportunity and I open up Studio and I create a button called engineering orders. And I can confirm it. Oops, first you want to relate it, because I created a many to one field on the ECO, I can now create the inverse or a one to many on the opportunity. Odoo is smart enough to show you, hey, you have the option now that you have a way to track ECOs and the lead opportunity that they're assigned to. You now have the option to view all ECOs affiliated with one opportunity here. And you'll see it creates that button up there. So what I should be able to do now is when I click Create Engineering Change Order, this should go from 0 to 1 if I did my action right, because it's going to create the engineering change order. It's going to assign the ID of this opportunity to the lead opportunity field on the change order. And the minute it's assigned, it's going to recognize that the ID matches this op, and it's going to increase the value from 0 to 1 on this particular button. Let's test it. And there it is. It went up to 1. So now I can create those and see the opportunity here. Now let's go a level deeper. Let's say, and this is where it gets really interesting and you can really drive automation and workflows in a super efficient way. We want to also track on the opportunity. Let's say I take a bunch of notes about the product here. This field is called the description. So if I go into the opportunity here and I can say, I want the note field on the ECO to pull from the record dot description on the CRM. Let's just make sure that's correct. So what I'm doing is I'm telling this ECO upon creation, take the record, which is the lead opportunity, and populate this note field with whatever value is in the description. Let's go and test. So here I can say customer wants X, customer wants Y, customer wants Z. We have some notes, and when I create another engineering change order, it creates 2, and the second one it created, number 4, in the notes, those transition over perfectly as well. So you can start to understand or at least extrapolate on what I'm showing you here. You use this server action in order to map fields from the opportunity into the new engineering change order. This logic that I'm teaching you right now works across the entire system for any records. That is the underlying power of Odoo. I've written no code and I'm able to automate business processes and workflows in a number of different ways. So let's take a step back and let's go look at if I go look at our ECO here, you can see I have all my 4 that I've created here. And of course, as I go to my pipeline and create another one, there it is, just like that, real time. Now, let's take it a step further. If you want, what you can do is you can introduce all sorts of different rules which say create an engineering change order, hide this button unless it's in this stage, or hide the engineering change order smart button unless you have a value unless the value of engineering change orders associated to this opportunity is greater than 0. You can do all that kind of stuff, and I'll cover that in a phase 2 demonstration. But the next thing I want to do is actually take you through a real life scenario of how this flow can happen. So now that we have this created, I can go to my CRM, I can create a new opportunity for Nick Kaczynski, and we'll go in and we'll say Nick Kaczynski will create the new customer from scratch. I can add it. I can go down here and I can start to take my notes. I can say Nick wants a blue product with XYZ. Make sure the size equals 1, 2, 3. Be sure width equals 10. You can also have fields for all of these values that you may want to track. You don't have to use a text field. You could have, like I just showed you, how you can map any of these fields over there. You could have a field here, and I'll actually take a second to show you, but you could have, we could use this as customization options. And here we could say, I want to add a simple text field that says, we'll just do a size and width, right? Super simple. I know you can get as complex as you want, but again, the purpose is to just show you the concepts so you can understand it is possible with Odoo. Size, and we'll do width. And there's width. So now, again, we'll go back to our server action. We should have a size. We do. And but we don't want that here. Whoops. Yet, because we want to actually go to the ECO and we need to add a size and width field. So now I'm going to do it, we can add that here. We can say the configuration, our product, the specs, we'll just call it. And now I'm going to create a text field here called size and width. That load. There's our width. And width. And now all you do is tell Odoo to map those. So now that that's refreshed, we should have two size values. We do. So I want to say the size field on the MRP ECO will inherit the value that is record dot, and I need to specify the name of the size field here, which is X Studio size. Very simple. X Studio size. And as you can imagine, width is the same logic. I can say I want to do a Python expression and make sure it inherits the record.x studio width. And now when I go through my flow, instead of logging notes here, I can also log notes here. And you can get even more detailed and specify units of measure. We'll say 10 centimeters by 100 centimeters. And now when I go ahead and create my change order for this, let's see what my engineering team sees. They will not be in Studio, right? They would go into PLM. They would say we have 6 now. At the bottom of the list is engineering change order 6 for Nick Kaczynski. Open it up, my specs carried, and my 2 size and width fields carried as well to my change order. So now your team can begin to build the product. And here they go in and they can say, you know, Nick Kaczynski product, give it a SKU. Again, you can get into automating all this as well. I'm going to do it by hand here. They can say, you know, this is going to be $12.99. And we're going to, again, you can have these be default fields when you create them, because if you're going to do it make to order, you'll probably have this every time. Now, once you've done that, you'll have a product and you can assign a bill of material to this product as well. You'll create one. We'll actually make this stockable. And then your team would go through and create a bill of material. And they'd say, you know, we want to add screw, and I'll just make these consumables, and screw and wood. Very lame, but you get the idea. We want to make sure, we'll just call these consumables for the sake of the demo. I want to make sure wood is consumable as well. So they'll go through and they can actually begin to start the revision and introduce the product, all that good stuff. They could also go in here, you'll see, and they can choose based on the product when they want to make it available for sale to the particular customer. So if they are not to the customer, yeah, but to the salesperson. So if I mark it to sale, that's perfect. And now what your team would do is they'd go through and they'd say, they'd probably log a note and say, Nick Kaczynski, hey, your customer's product is ready for sale. And once it's ready, and Nick Kaczynski would get an email and it would notify him that, hey, this customer's product ready for sale. So now Nick Kaczynski, looking at the opportunity for customer Nick Kaczynski, would say, all right, let's create a new quote. And now Nick Kaczynski would go in, create a product, see his customer's SKU right there for the $12.99. The price would carry, and when he confirms this, it would create the delivery order, and it would also create the manufacturing order, sale order 1 for product Nick Kaczynski with the screw and the wood, check availability. Since it's consumable, it's available. Actually record the production, and once Marks is done, then of course we go to inventory, and that product, our inventory team is notified that, hey, Nick Kaczynski's product's in the to process bucket, meaning it's in stock, it's been reserved, it's ready to ship. They'd open that up, they'd see there it is, status is ready, 1 unit reserved, go ahead, validate, and execute this. So just like that, you can see a simple way that this flow can happen. Again, to review once more, create the op, John Wood, or John D, and we'll add this, and it's test, right? We can go through, test here, add our specs, 1 and 2, save, very seamless, create the engineering change order. We see the one has been created. There it is. It's test, specs 1, 2, carry. Your team can go through and actually start the revision, or they'd add their products and start the revision. and proceed with the workflow. Um, if you have any questions or if you want me to extrapolate and go further into this idea, let me know. I'll be more than happy to, teach you how to use Odoo. Thank you very much for listening, and please follow me. I'm always posting videos trying to, again, help the community learn how to use the system and ultimately become as autonomous as possible with it. Thanks so much.